Yo, 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 what's going on, you guys? It's your boy 3 Stacks in this thing, baby, representing Team Kings of Games. And today I'm coming at you guys with an update for Magical Musketeers. Bang, bang, baby. And this deck is really cool, man. It's fun. It's not necessarily hardcore go second, even though that's my preference. But my list is kind of an equilibrium of both. Because you never know what somebody's going to do if they win a dice roll. They might make you go first because they're playing going second. So you never want to make it hardcore go second, like play like nothing but going second cards. So then when you go first, you have to like normal musket and pass. That's kind of like... you can do a little bit more with this list, and you can put up interruptions too. And it has a decent grind game as well. I wouldn't say it can out-resource every deck, but it does have a really good resource game if you play it correctly and don't be greedy, you know. But yeah, this deck's really cool, you guys. Check the link description box below. You'll find so many ways to support me through Patreon, PayPal, Cash App, and I'll also have Team Kings of Games t-shirts. I have merchandise. They're $25 a piece. They're mediums and larges, and they come in the color black. Only black. Those are the only ones I got because I didn't get like too many. Get them while they're there because I don't know when I'll be able to get some more. But yeah, you guys, let's go ahead and get into this profile. So we're going to start off with the Magical Musketeers, of course. 3 copies of Starfire. Starfire is my favorite one, personally. She gets me access to any musket I want, including Caspar. That's why I feel like she's the best one. In addition to that, she's incredible going second, you guys. Like, you can literally just kill your opponent off of her. Obviously, we know the double or nothing interaction. But also going first, you know, you could theoretically make an Abyss Dweller, which is really, really cool. So, you know, she's a really, really good standalone card. I love maxing out on her. Obviously, these are the best ones that you really want to max out on. Caspar is second best to me. Obviously, in just like if you're low resources and you don't have enough cards to activate, Caspar is better than Starfire. But I just value her more because she gets me more field presence. She'll get me Caspar and I'll still be able to like make other plays, like make a max and leave the Caspar there, for example. And then we're playing 3 copies of Kid Brave. Kid Brave is really good in this deck because I don't really play 40 cards in this list. I have a preference and I have a number that I kind of like, not necessarily desire, but I ended up on that number just because of all the cards that I decided that I wanted to play that were very impactful for this deck. I'm giving it an incredible going first or going second play. Even going second, certain cards that are good going first are even good going second and vice versa. 3 Kid Braves. I personally like 3 Docs. The thing with Magical Muskets, if you want to go second, is you need to open a Magical Musketeer monster. I couldn't play 2 Docs, and honestly, I'm playing a little bit heavier on the Magical Musketeer monsters for the simple fact that they are a 1-card combo. 1 card max. When you're going second, max is a 1-card combo. You can get 3, sometimes even 5 cards just off of a max, and you can even flood the field and OTK your opponent. And then I played not 1 but 2 copies of Calamity, and I also played the 1 copy of Wild. So I felt that my sweet spot was 15 muskets. It's really important to open one, like I said, because the spells and traps are dead without a musket, but muskets are not dead going second, even if you open no musket spells or traps or nothing to activate in their column, because you just make max. The other cool thing with this deck is if anything's activated in their column. So even if you don't have any good cards to play, if you just summon them in the columns where your opponent has spells or traps, or you're playing like Orcus and they set, you know, certain cards in their back row, you can normally it there in that column, and you'll be able to force your opponent to let you play. So this deck can outgrind certain decks just because they have no choice but to activate their cards and give you advantage that you didn't have to work for. The other beauty of playing Calamity and Wild is that Ties of the Brethren is always going to be live no matter which musket you draw. Instead of only opening the level 3s, you could open any of the level 4s and Ties of the Brethren them out. Now obviously that's not the best play you can make, but it's better than not having, better than Ties being a dead draw basically, and having 3 muskets on the field is still an insane field, you guys. Honestly, like, you could plus so hard. Like with Calamity and Starfire alone, like you can generate so much field presence going second. It's incredible. One of my favorite techs in this deck is Archfiend Eccentric. Going first, it's a free activation, so it's just a spell you can play in your scale. And then you can clear it off to pop any spell or trap on the follow-up or even the same turn. Going second, it does the same exact thing, or you can even use it to out monsters. And it's also a light level 3 Fiend, which makes it a valid Ties of the Brethren target, so you could even normal this, activate Ties on it, and bring out Caspar and bring out Doc or Kid Brave, and that's a play right there. So it has incredible synergy in this deck. And like I said, it's a free activation, so you don't have to target anything and destroy it like with Cyclone, Twin Twisters, MST, etc. You could just activate it, not having to worry about popping your own back rows. Because when you're going first, you know, cards like Twin Twister, Cyclone, and MST, even though they're back row removal just like this card, you have to use them on your own cards in order to even activate them in the first place, which would make it like either a -1 or a dead draw. so that you couldn't even play it in their column. But with this card, it's pretty free, and it has better synergy with the deck because, like I said, it's a ties target, and in addition to that, it does out monsters. So you could even summon it off ties and then pop something. And then the final monster that I play is one Zachiel. I really find that this card is worth playing, even though it's a risky card to play because it could be a brick. It could be a brick. The card is just incredible. When you're trying to outgrind your opponent, this is like Spellbook of Judgment cut in half. You're not going to get the special summon and all that, but you're going to get to draw a lot of cards. Like, it's not like literally an equivalent, but I guess that's the closest comparison. It's like Judgment, where instead of searching a bunch of cards especially, you're just going to draw a bunch of cards during each of your opponent's in phases. Unfortunately, it's only your opponent's in phases, which is understandable, so the card's a little bit balanced, but it's easy to get out because of Crooked Crown. Even if you have just one copy of Caspar, you could activate something in Caspar's column, search the Crooked Crown, and then on your opponent's turn, activate something else in his column and search out Zachiel, and then activate the Crooked Crown and special him out. So Caspar plus 2 cards that you can activate from your hand can easily get this and Crooked Crown, and you can do that on your opponent's turn just off one Caspar. And it's going to just allow you to replace a lot of the cards you used up. Because this deck, you know, it does grind out of its resources a lot. Like, you have to, when you're playing against good decks, you're going to have to use a lot of your weapons. And speaking of the weapons, go ahead and show you guys. So I guess I should put their weapons next to the muskets that they belong to. So bang bang, baby. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to do something really cool. I'm going to put Doc right here next to Starfire. And then I'm going to put Kid Brave next to Caspar. Also, I wanted to make this mention too. So what's cool with Calamity and Doc is think of these as your backup Starfire and Caspar, because these do the same exact thing as Starfire and Caspar, just from the grave. So after turn 1, this becomes Caspar. After turn 1, this becomes Starfire. When you have the targets you need in deck, especially playing Pot of Desires, and with Ash Blossom being a card, but Ghost Bell not being so popular, you know, these are a little bit safer after turn 1, because if they have an Ash, these cards can't be Ashed, but these can be Ash Blossom, even though you play Called by the Grave in this deck. So just wanted to mention that these are like almost the exact same cards, just from a different place, which makes the deck a lot more resilient too. But anyway, so I'm gonna go ahead and line up these muskets so we can show their weapons. So Cross Domination, if you look at the artwork, that's Kid Brave in the artwork. So Cross Domination, I'm sorry, yeah, actually that is Kid Brave. I'm tripping. It really is Kid Brave. So that's Kid Brave in the artwork. And if you look in their the picture, you'll see a weapon in his hand. And if you look at Cross Domination, that's the same exact weapon. It's just his hair looks a little different. But Cross Domination belongs to Kid Brave. The pistol is his. So Cross Dom is his weapon. And that's how muskets work. Bang, bang. These are their weapons. Desperado belongs to Calamity. If you look at the artwork, that's Calamity's gigantic gun on her back. And Desperado is Calamity blasting somebody. So you're going to pop a face-up card with the Desperado. And then Last Stand belongs to Wild. This is Wild's weapon. Well, weapons, because Wild's crazy. His name's Wild, and he is Wild. And look at that, Last Stand. He's not playing any games with you guys. So triple Last Stand, and Last Stand belongs to Wild. So that's his weapon. And then we have Dancing Needles. I played 2 copies of Dancing Needles. It's an incredible meta call. There's so many graveyard-centric decks. Like Sound Migrates and Shaddolls are basically like the top tier decks right now. So this card just absolutely stomps them, and it really does make it easier to beat those decks. So Dancing Needles is Starfire's weapon, but I really can't see it in her hand, so I really feel like she's a different kind of musket. I think her weapon is more close combat than a ranged weapon. Fiendish Steel belongs to Caspar. And if you see Caspar's gigantic gun and you look in Fiendish Steel, you'll see Caspar with this big old gun. Crooked Crown is not really a weapon, I would say, but it does belong to Zachiel. And Steady Hands, which isn't in my list currently, that belongs to Doc. So these are all their weapons, just so you guys, like, obvious. It's pretty obvious, but still wanted to point that out because it's really cool. Like, this deck's really cool. I like the art and it's really fun. But yeah, these are all the musket spells and traps that I play. So if I go ahead and just move the monsters out of the way, I just wanted to put their weapons next to them because, you know, it's their weapons. It belongs to them. So these are all the musket spells and traps that I'm playing. Obviously, Desperado, Last Stand, and Cross Dom are absolutely incredible going first or second. Their interruptions, the same with Dancing Needle because of how the format is. Even though Yu-Gi-Oh's kind of canceled right now, it's still like the best decks out there are still getting shut down by Dancing Needles. I mean, you want multiples not just for desires, so that you can actually search another one off cast bar if you don't have dock to add it from grave to hand. But Dancing Needles is also one of the freest cards ever going second. You could just play it immediately because somebody's always gonna have cards in their graveyard. So these are the Musket Monster. Oh, these are the Musket Monster's weapons that I'm playing, and these are the ratios of choice. I honestly recommend you play at least one Cricket Crown because it also can block columns, so it's a really good control card, and it allows you to extend your board on your turn and on your opponent's turn. You can just keep spamming. That's why I like also playing a higher count on muskets, so I can actually put out more than one musketeer in one turn. And for the spells, one of the best starter cards is 3 Ties of the Brethren. Obviously, it's better going first, but I will say when you're going second and you resolve max for a few cards, you can easily spam your board and then leave a Caspar or a Kid Brave or a Dock after you've made a bunch of links. And as long as you have 2 more spaces open, you can activate Ties. And then basically for the rest of the turn after it resolves, if you see it right here, for the rest of the turn after it resolves, you cannot special summon. So you can spam the board all you want and then Ties after it. Obviously, you can't conduct your battle phase, so that's one of the downsides of it going second. But when you resolve cards like Evenly Match, or if you play Dark Ruler no more, you obviously weren't going to really do much with your battle phase anyways. Even though with Dark Ruler you can still attack cards, but your muskets are pretty small. So I like it, and also it's a contingency when you're forced to go first, because if you're playing muskets, most players will make you go first because they don't want you to get that much advantage off max. But this is still an incredible card. It's a 2-card combo. This with Caspar is incredible. And for more starter cards, I play 3 copies of Pot of Desires. This is incredible going first or second. It's going to either bait interruptions, bait hand traps, or just give you a +2. The reason why it's a +2 is because every musket has an effect when you activate in their column. So this with Caspar, draw 2, search. This with Kid Brave, draw 4. And then I play 3 copies of Call by the Grave to make sure that my plays go through. And going second, it's incredible, especially against Shaddolls and against Salman Greats. You could really catch them off guard. You could just call by any, like especially if Shaddolls fuse with the same fusion and like put Opclone or Winda or Construct in their grave, and they summon one on your turn off El Shaddol fusion, you could just call by the grave the second copy in their graveyard, and then the one that they summon on the field is just negated. So this card's just incredible. I do also play 3 copies of Forbidden Chalice. This card, in tandem with the 2 Infinite Impermanences, gives you even more solid going second, so that if you get forced into like a match against Pendulums, or if you're playing against a deck that puts up too many negations or interruptions, these cards can easily bait out cards like Appaloosa, Jackal King, you know, you name it. Even Endymion, like if you target the Apple, they're going to have to negate with Endymion. And in addition to that, these can shut down Winda and turn Winda off. Even though this deck doesn't really struggle with Winda because you have Cross Dom, you're not always going to open Cross Dom. And if you normal musket in special max, you can't even activate his effective special in deck because you already special once. So Winda can actually hurt this deck too, surprisingly. But it's not always all the time because you don't really need to spam that much. But it's just nice that these are main deck outs to Winda. So like if you open a musket plus this or Cross Dom in last stand, you can target the Winda to negate it. And if they activate El Shaddol Fusion to summon another one, you could just last stand the El Shaddol Fusion and then make your max, and they can no longer summon Winda on your turn because you're going to leave the one on the field negated till you do your max play, so they can't bring it back off Incarnation. So these cards are just really incredible. This is I feel the only hand trap you should ever play in Musketeers is Infinite Impermanence, because it also synergizes with your archetype. It's a column-based card. You can activate it going second and going first. It's just incredible because you get double negations off of it. And then I also play 2 copies of Eagle Booster. Eagle Booster is very similar to Call by the Grave in the sense that it's really there to make sure my plays go through. So Call by the Grave can stop Ash, Ogre, you know, and stuff like that, but with Max being hit by a Cypher Gamma or an Infinite Impermanence or a Forbidden Chalice, for example, Call by the Grave can't stop those, and those are real cards, so those can shut down Max. And if you're trying to resolve Max and it's a like do or die play and you need it to actually live, you really need cards like these to make sure that his plays go through. And this also fights through negation. So if you're playing against if you're playing against like Pendulums, you know, you're playing against Rockets or Dragon Link, and they activate Heretic Seal or anything like that on your max, or they activate Warlord Savage Dragon, or you know, Endymion or like Appaloosa, you can just chain this to the max. I'm sorry, not Endymion, Jackal King or Appaloosa. You chain this to Max's effect and basically make him unaffected by card effects for that turn, and your Magical Musketeer max will resolve, being protected the entire turn. So it also stops any hand trap too. So it's actually better than Call by the Grave going second. But you really, obviously you have to have no monster in your main monster zone. That's fine because you just normal the musket, make max, and your zones are free. So I really like it. It's one of my favorite techs. I've been playing it in this deck for a long, long time. and it's the Spice Show. And then I'm playing one double or nothing so I can cheese wins. And also, this is a bit counterintuitive for Max, but some decks you just need it for. 3 evenly matched. Even though Max can generate so much advantage, there are certain instances where you're just like, yeah, I wasn't going to resolve Max anyways. They set 5 pass. Like, they have judgments, strikes, all kinds of nonsense, crackdowns, you lost wins, you know, where you're like, one last stand's just not good enough. So this is really good against heavy back row decks. And it's surprisingly good against Pendulums too, because you got to realize, like, if you don't open Desperado and Last Stand plus like other really good cards, I mean Desperado plus Cross Dom and other good cards, it's going to be really hard to fight through those Pendulum boards. And it's going to be really hard to fight through those Rocket boards. But honestly, Rockets is not that hard for this deck to fight through those. But for Pendulums, yeah, you want cards like Evenly. You want to open like Evenly, Eagle Booster, plus a Musket and Cross Dom and Desperado. You'll definitely more than likely break that board. It's incredible because you could just evenly them, bait 1 negate, normal your Musket, activate some spells and traps like Desperado, Cross Dom, bait negate, link in the Max, activate this on the final negate, and just break their board. It's crazy. And yep, that's it for the main deck. It should be 51 cards if I'm not mistaken. The extra deck, we're obviously playing 3 Max, even though you can put this back to your extra deck with cards like Wild and Doc. Because Doc adds any Musket card from your grave to your hand, so you can recycle Max. It's just really important to just absolutely max out on your Max. I play Security Dragon. It's one of my favorite Link 2s in this deck because you can easily co-link cards because you summon Max first and then start summoning monsters down below him. So typically when you resolve Max for 4 to 5, you're going to summon all these Nightmares. This is my proxy for Unicorn, but you're normally going to go like Security Dragon under Max, co-link, bounce, Cerberus, co-link, discard, pop, draw. And you're going to make Phoenix, discard, pop, draw. And then you're normally, once you have an extra Musket left on the field, you'll take the Max and the Phoenix and turn it into Ningirsu. And you're just going to wipe an entire field. So like if you use your Desperado, your Cross Dom, your evenly matched, and your, for example, your Eagle Booster playing against Pendulums to bait all their negates, the next step after you've baited all their negates is to break their board. So you're using the Eagle Booster to make sure Max resolves. And when he resolves, you're going to spam the board and you're just going to make cards like this, which is incredible, especially if you made Max after resolving Starfire, which is just incredible. You're going to have an extra Musket, and you're normally going to special 2 to 3 against Pendulum because they'll have their scales and a field spell more than likely, and if not, you'll just special summon 2. But also, even playing against Rockets, if they leave their field spell, or if they just have, for example, Borload Savage with something in the spell or trap zone, you can normally resolve Max for special summoning monsters, even against combo decks, which is really cool. Even decks like Shaddolls, so it definitely has great synergy. Man, I wish I had the Unicorn, but yeah, that's the Unicorn. I do play Griffin also to make sure that if I can't completely break the board, I can lock them out with just this and Max co-link, so that you're going to get to set a Musket, spell a trap, and draw, and keep the board, kind of keep the game state simplified so that it's hard for your opponent to come back, and you'll have like Dancing Needles, Cross Dom, Desperado, Last Stand, you'll have everything, you resolve Max. And then I do play Trishbania. Trishbania, again, this deck, back row decks can be really tough because Last Stand is realistically your only card that can stop back rows. But Solemn Judgment just destroys this deck, so you really want to be careful. That's what the evenly match is also there for, because you just blind evenly. If they keep the Judgment as their last card, that's totally fine. But yeah, Trishbania is just really important because also resolving Max, you can just, once you bait all the negates for Pendulums and you clear their board and kill all their monsters, your next step is you want to Trishbania their scales so that they can't even have a follow-up play for their next turn. Unchained Abomination is one of the easiest cards to make in this deck. So one of the coolest interactions with Max is when you're doing the co-link action with this, and then finally Ningirsu. You literally clean an entire board up. So you just resolve Max. You co-link the Security Dragon. You end up link spamming with these. Use Caspar to search for the Crooked Crown. Use Crooked Crown to special summon from your hand. Spam the board. So you just go co-link, pop, draw, co-link, pop, draw. Starting with the Security Dragon, co-link, bounce. Make Ningirsu effect, send a card without targeting or destroyed, and then link him and any other monster into Abomination, and then you're going to pick off 3 more cards. Desperado, pop, effect, pop, attack, effect, pop, in phase. You can pop up to 7 cards. Now let me make sure. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, you can clear 7 cards just with your links alone, excluding the fact that Desperado is a spot removal as well. So you can systematically pick boards apart. It's crazy. And I play Warlord as another link that can enable me to get over cards that can be targeted or destroyed, like Endymion. So these are cards that are just going to out those monsters if they can be targeted or destroyed. Because anti-targeting is like really difficult for this deck because your spot removals do target. So you want to make links like this that just help you get over it. And one of the cheesiest OTKs ever, Utopian and the double. Even if Endymion is protected, you can just run them over by battle and you're going to do, you know, like a ridiculous amount of damage. It's crazy. But yeah, Starfire Cross Dom is just free. And then for the final rank 4, since it's harder to make Dweller going first and still end on a musket, because you never want to leave no muskets on the field and just blind Dweller, you won't get that much advantage because if Dweller dies and your musket cards are dead in your hand, you want to play a rank 4 like this because it's better going second, where you can just like clear a board, or if you couldn't clear the board but you baited the negates playing against Pendulum and you were only able to resolve max for 2 and you still can't Utopia double for game, for example, like if you just, you know, for example, like even lead and they negate it, no battle phase, you just make the Exiton Knight off of the 2 level 4s and use him to nuke their field after you baited all the negates, and that's just, it's like, dude, it's really hard to come back off of that, especially if you have Trisbania on the follow-up. So this deck can really spam if you resolve max. That's why I prefer going second. And that's the deck profile, you guys. Thank you so much for watching it. God bless you. Make good choices. Don't hurt your brain cells. Stay tuned for future content. And have a beautiful day, you guys. I'm going to say a quick prayer. If you don't like the prayer, just cut the video at the part of the prayer. So, our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, Jesus. Thy kingdom come, and thy will be done on earth, just as it is in heaven. Please give us this day our daily bread, Lord, and please forgive us of our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, Father, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the glory, and the power forever. In the mighty name of Jesus, I pray. Thank you, Yahweh. Amen. Deuces is wild, baby.